Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtaprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Pratyar Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, King Chitraketu's Lamentation, text number 6 onwards. So here Parikshit Maharaj is asking questions to Shukdev Goswami about, he was trying to find out who was this Vritrasura. How come he was such a great devotee and still became an Asura? What happened? Text 6. Vritrastu sa katham papa sarva loko patapanha itam dhranamati Krishna asita sangram ulvane. Vritrasura was situated in the blazing fire of battle and was an infamous sinful demon, always engaged in giving troubles and anxieties to others. How could such a demon become so greatly Krishna conscious? It has been described that in Narayan Parayana, a pure devotee is rarely found even among millions and millions of persons. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was surprised that Vritrasura, whose purpose was to give trouble and anxiety to others, was one of these devotees, even on a battlefield. What was the reason for Vritrasura's advancement? Atra na sanchayo bhuyat shrotum kotuhalam prabho yaha paurushena samre sahasraksham atoshayat. My dear Lord Shukdev Goswami, although Vritrasura was a sinful demon, he showed the prowess of a most exalted Kshatriya and satisfied Lord Indra in the battle. How could such a demon be a great devotee of Lord Krishna? These contradictions have caused me great doubt and they have made me eager to hear of this from you. So Parikshit Maharaj asked so many questions about Vritrasura. Who was he? How come he became such a great devotee? Shri Sutavacha Parikshito at Samprashnam Bhagwan Badarayani Nishamya Shradhanasya Pratinande Vacho Bravit. Shri Suta Goswami said, after hearing Maharaj Parikshit's very intelligent question, Shukdev Goswami, the most powerful sage, began answering his disciple with great affection. Shri Shukavacha Shrinushvava Hito Rajan Itihasam Imam Yatha Shrutam Dvapayan Mukhan Narad Adevladapi. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, O king, I shall speak to you the same history I have heard from the mouths of Vyasadeva, Narad, and Deval. Please listen with attention. Asida Raja Sarvabhauma Shuraseneshu Venripa Chitraketur iti Kyato Yasyasita Kamadhung Mahi. O King Parikshit, in the province of Shurasena, there was a king named Chitraketu who ruled the entire earth. During his reign, the earth produced all the necessities for life. Here, the most significant statement is that the earth completely produced all the necessities of life during the time of King Chitraketu. As stated in Ishopanishad, Isha Vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So this is Ishopanishad speaking here, first mantra, very first mantra of Ishopanishad. And very powerful mantra, saying that everything within the universe, every single thing is controlled and owned by the Lord. We don't own anything. If we are given something as a caretaker of something, we should just accept our quota and take care of that thing, and not eye others' properties and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. And this is where we lack. This is where we lack badly, actually. If we look at other human beings, everybody is trying to, by hook or by crook, trying to take over our possessions, your possessions, whether it is money or property or other things. And on top of it, animals, birds, plants, we are trying to take over their properties, take over their bodies, kill them unnecessarily. Where is it written that human beings should eat animals, kill and eat animals? And not just kill and eat animals, maintain slaughterhouses where they could slaughter millions and millions of animals every day and eat them. So, if we don't follow the laws of nature, the nature will retaliate. We have to go through the karma, whatever we have, sinful actions we have performed, we have to take the reactions. And this coronavirus, this pandemic, I mean, it's a reaction of that thing only. Some people say, I didn't commit sinful activities. I'm a vegetarian, I'm a devotee, and I eat everything that is offered to the Lord. Well, we must have committed something in the previous lifetimes. And this lifetime also, we must have committed something. So that's why the philosophy of karma, what goes around comes around. And if we don't follow this instruction of Ishopanishad, we are going to face the karma. We're going to face the reactions sooner or later. It is going to come back to us. So this part is missing from our education system, actually. And the problem is with this so-called secular education system. If we don't learn these things, how are we going to adopt? How are we going to inculcate these teachings? And if the teachings are eat, drink, and be merry, then, well, the reactions will be there. Definitely, they will be there. Krishna, the Supreme Controller, has created the material world, which is completely perfect and free from scarcity. The Lord supplies the necessities of all living entities. These necessities come from the earth, and thus the earth is a source of supply. When there is a good ruler, that source produces the necessities of life abundantly. However, when there is not such a good ruler, there will be scarcity. This is the significance of the word kamadhuk. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Kamam vavashya parjanya sarva kama dugha mahi. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of men in profusion. We have experienced that in some seasons the rains produce abundance, and in other seasons there is scarcity. We have no control over the earth's productiveness, for it is naturally under the full control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his order, the Lord can make the earth produce sufficiently or insufficiently. If a pious king rules the earth according to the Shastric injunctions, there will naturally be regular rainfall and sufficient produce to provide for all men. There will be no question of exploitation, for everyone will have enough. Black marketeering and other corrupt dealings will then automatically stop. Simply ruling the land cannot solve man's problems unless the leader has spiritual capabilities. He must be like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Parikshit Maharaj or Ramchandra. Then all the inhabitants of the land will be extremely happy. So it's not like Maharaj Yudhishthira, since he was a pious king, devotee king, but rest of the population were just a Kalyugi population and completely into breaking all the rules, all the laws, and still the earth would produce. No. If the king is pious, king is spiritual, population has to be like that also. Then the earth will give everything in abundance. Like we all talk about Ram Rajya, there should be Ram Rajya, but is the population, are the people in general eligible, qualified to be in that Ram Rajya? If their qualification is to be in Ravan Rajya, then Lord Ram is not going to rule that kingdom. Ram Rajya will never be established in that kingdom. So it's both ways. It's a two-way street. It's not like one way only. And then, if that is a case when everybody is pious or majority is pious, then the earth will produce everything in abundance. Earth has everything that we need. Everything. Earth, the earth, Bhumi, and Mother Nature, combined, we can understand. It can give us plenty, much more than that we need. But we have to know how to take it, how to become eligible. And if we are not eligible, earth is not giving, then there will be chaos, there will be fightings and hypocrisy, quarrel, everything will be there. And that's what is going on right now also and in the future also. This pandemic is actually a good time for us to sit down and introspect. What am I doing? And everybody, not just 5 or 10 of us, everybody should introspect. But instead of understanding what did I do wrong, we are trying to, and we love to put the blame on others. Whether the government is wrong, prime minister is wrong, president is wrong, the system is wrong, and this is wrong, and that is wrong. We all have made mistakes. We all have shortcomings. And unfortunately, in India right now, so many people are suffering. So a few months back in America, people were suffering. In Italy, people were suffering. Now in India and Brazil also, I hear suffering terribly. But we just like to point the fingers at others. No, it's because of your fault I'm suffering. Not going to happen. Krishna's law, Krishna's rule is perfect. I cannot suffer for anybody else's sinful reactions. Not going to happen. Tasya bharya sahasrani dashabhavan santani kaschapi nripo na lebhu tasu santatim. So this Maharaj Chitraketu was a pious king and earth was producing everything in abundance, but there was one problem. This Chitraketu had 10 million wives. And now it's not a mythology, it's not something that Shukdev Goswami is making it up, because earlier he said, this is what I have heard from authorities, Vedvyas, Narad and Deval. So it has to be a fact. So he had 10 million wives. Wow. But although he was capable of producing children, he did not receive a child from any of them. By chance, all the wives were barren. Now that's also can happen. Rupodarya vayo janma vidyashvarya shriyadri sampanyasya guna sarvesh chinta bandhya paterabhu. Chitraketu, the husband of these millions of wives, was endowed with a beautiful form, magnanimity, and youth. He was born in a high family. He had a complete education. He was wealthy and opulent. Nevertheless, in spite of being endowed with all these assets, he was full of anxiety because he did not have a son. It appears that the king first married one wife, but she could not bear a child. Then he married a second, a third, a fourth, and so on. But none of the wives could bear children. In spite of the material assets of Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri, birth in an aristocratic family with full opulence, wealth, education, and beauty, he was very much aggrieved because, in spite of having so many wives, he had no son. Certainly, his grief was natural. Grihastha life does not mean having a wife and no children. Chanakya Pandit says, Putra hinam griham shunya. If a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert. The king was certainly most unhappy that he could not get a son, and this is why he had married so many times. Kshatriyas especially are allowed to marry more than one wife, and this king did so. Not just more than one wife, he had 10 million wives. You can't even imagine 1 crore wives. Wow. Nonetheless, he had no issue, no children. न तस्य सम्पदः सर्वा महिष्यो वामलोचना सार्वभौमस्य भूश्चेयम् अभवन् प्रीतिहेत्वः. Okay, going back to the Prabhupada word. Grihastha life does not mean having a wife and no children. Now, this has become a kind of a fashion these days, even among devotees. And they say, no, we don't want to have the children, don't want to have children. We just married and we just want to engage ourselves fully in devotional service and yatras and kathas, and which is good if somebody is fully dedicated like that. But Grihastha life means one has to have children. Reason being, if somebody is so exalted, both husband and wife, so exalted devotees, then those souls which are supposed to take birth in the family of Vaishnavas, they are waiting to be born in this kind of families. So where they could be raised properly and could be raised as a Vaishnava, as a devotee, and further take on the process. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 10 or 11 children. Prabhupada had many children. So it's not like children are hindrance into this devotional service. In fact, they teach us plenty of things, how to be patient, how to be tolerant, and how to be caring. For caring for a Vaishnava, for a devotee. They teach us so many things. But this has become a fashion actually these days. Married but no children. Na tasya sampadha sarva mahishya vamalochana sarvabhaumasya bhushcheyam abhavan priti hetvaha. His queens all had beautiful faces and attractive eyes, yet neither his opulences, his hundreds and thousands of queens, nor the lands of which he was the supreme proprietor were sources of happiness for him. So even although he had pretty much everything in life. But because of one lacking, he just was not happy. This is how Krishna has designed this material world actually. We might have plenty in our lives, but there could be only one thing that doesn't go according to our desires or our plans, and that would mean we're not happy, even though we have plenty. We have everything except that one thing. So that one thing that is lacking, that will give us pain. So much pain that we forget about all the other facilities we have. The material world is like that. It will never give us full satisfaction. Never. This is how Krishna has designed it. 7th canto, not too far from that, we will read about Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, he was a king of the whole universe. Except Brahmaloka, he had conquered everything. All the demigods were his servants. But there was only one thing that was lacking in his life. His son, his dearmost son, Prahlad Maharaj, was a devotee of Lord Vishnu. That's it. So whatever he had, it didn't matter. This thing, it bothered him so much, he just could not tolerate it. He could have sent Prahlad to the forest. Okay, you want to do devotion service? Just go to the forest and do your devotion service. And he could have lived happily. But no. Just one, that prick, pinprick, and that's it. One cannot be happy. But this is where the devotees, they might have everything material, they might not have anything material, opulence or possessions. But since they know they have Krishna, they have devotion of Krishna, that means they have everything. Only thing we need is Krishna. That's why many times problems happen in our lives, many issues happen, whether at work or in relationships or at home, neighborhood, or among devotees. Many things can happen. Because material world means padam padam yatve padam. But a devotee, real devotee, he's always satisfied because no matter what happens, I have my beat bag, I have my capability to chant, and that's good enough. And that's all he wants. That's all he needs. And when somebody has Krishna, actually he has everything. Krishna is the controller, enjoyer of everything, and is the proprietor of everything in the universe. Of course, devotee doesn't ask for anything. Give me this or give me that. He doesn't care. Only thing he needs is Krishna. That's all. And that's how he is always satisfied. And that's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakli Ashanta Krishna Bhakti Nishkam Atev Shanta. So Krishna Bhakta is Nishkam. He has no desire. So he's always Shanta, peaceful. But others, whether one is Bhakti, means karmi, he wants more and more. Bhakti Mukti, one who wants liberation. Siddhi means yogi, who wants perfections. The Sakli Ashanta, they all are not at peace because they want something. What does a devotee want? Doesn't want anything material. The only thing he wants is to serve Krishna. That's it. And that's why he is peaceful. And that's why Krishna loves to be with his devotees. Text 14. Tasya tu bhavanam Angira Bhagwan Rishi Lokan Anucharam Netan Upagachaddi Gachadya Drichaya. Once upon a time, when the powerful sage named Angira was traveling all over the universe without engagement, by his sweet will, he came to the palace of King Chitraketu. So, tam pujitva vidhivat prati utthanarharanadivi krita atithyam upasid sukhasinam samahitaha. Chitraketu immediately stood up from his throne and offered him worship. He offered drinking water and eatables, and in this way performed his duty as a host to a great guest. When the rishi was seated very comfortably, the king, restraining his mind and senses, sat on the ground at the side of the rishi's feet. Maharshis tam upasinam prashraya vanatam chito pratipujya maharaja samabhashyedam abravit. O King Parikshit, when Chitraketu bent low in humility, was seated at the lotus feet of the great sage, the sage congratulated him for his humility and hospitality. The sage addressed him in the following words. So we'll stop here and see tomorrow what the sage told him, what Angira Rishi told him, and how he replied, and how the story goes further. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.